Hello, this is Scott Baceno at Mobile World Congress 2018. I'm talking to Stephen Bryant from DigitalRoute. So Stephen, why don't we start by talking about IoT specifically in the context of BSS infrastructure?
Thanks for having me. On this topic, I think the value chain has changed in some ways in terms of telcos are needing to go after enterprises. And enterprises are very much trying to figure out their whole sort of product to service transition, right? So I mean, if you take someone who's making a physical thing, whether it's an air pump or an air compressor, they're now saying, how can I sell that as a service? And this is really to be able to do sell based maybe on compressor cycles, an SLA, a man in a van, and all that sort of thing. And these companies have no history or no sort of background doing that type of service. But then if you look at telcos, we've been doing this for a long time. We've been selling things as bundles, we've been dealing with usage and what have you. But it's a very kind of new space. And I think there's a lot of tricky questions and challenges for telcos in this, because really helping enterprises monetize the whole product to service transition should be very natural, but it's actually quite challenging. So I think in that way that we need to, as telcos, help the enterprises be able to deal with consumption and deal with usage, and to be able to kind of wrap that up and charge it. The other thing is, I think that if you look at enterprises just getting started, they really want to deal with sort of usage-based kind of in their early stages, but then the next stage, they want price predictability around their product. So they're going to be able to bundle that usage into some sort of subscription and then handle overages around it. And then other sort of models where even that kind of prepaid and vouchers where they can go ahead and buy so much that includes so much consumption in it. So there's a lot of different sort of billing models and a lot of charging models that the enterprises need to take out to their customers. I think telcos play a natural part of that. I think one of the challenges in the ecosystem is that a lot of them are using platforms around their IoT, and that they're very much geared towards invoicing connectivity. And I think that to make this transition, we've been working heavily with the cloud billers that are doing all this sort of stuff to be able to move from the kind of subscription economy to something more, to be able to be usage driven and outcome driven.
So is there any more, I mean, you've touched a fair bit on BSS as it is now and how it has been. Is there any more you can tell us about the transition from legacy BSS to a modern BSS in this context?
I think with all these things, I mean, if you look at DigitalRoute, we tend to, our specialty is taking an insane amount of data and making it about one person or one end user. And I think really the end user, the customer, needs to be the focus on this all the way through. And so in my mind, the first step is always to follow the money. So follow the way from a monetization perspective to say, how can I go and help these customers monetize these use cases, and then work your way backwards in terms of how do I need to address this from a BSS perspective. And I think it could be working with existing vendors. I think it could be looking in terms of greenfield to try and support these special kind of enterprise IoT building use cases. But I think you can't really solve it purely based on a subscription. You have to deal with usage.
Okay, and you've touched a little bit on DigitalRoute's approach to this, but could you tell us a little bit more about what you can do to help with some of these challenges?
It's getting fairly common for us now that we work heavily with the different kind of cloud billers and people who do all these sort of recurring subscriptions and charging players, and they've been really good at kind of creating this sort of market for this, being able to pay a monthly recurring fee and have something in it. But now, from an IoT perspective, they're seeing more and more where usage data needs to become part of that, where it becomes critical, because otherwise, you can't really cover your cost. And for them to be able to package, this is the role we play, is to be able to take all that usage data. And we've been doing this for 20 years, and it may not sound like the most, sexiest of applications, but we are trusted with money, and we are trusted with making sure that every bit counts, and that we make it all about an end user at the end of the day, and be able to help telcos monetize that.
That's great, thank you very much.
Thanks for your time.